Are you ready?
Well, hello, everybody. This is the Parishscope. This is kind of the podcast that functions as an arm of the newsletter for St. John's Sand Prairie. I'm Pastor Chris Sansom.
And I'm Casey Dreamus. I'm the creative worship director at Our Savior Lutheran.
You're not an AI voice this time.
Not this time.
Not this time. No, this time you're the real deal. Although I do have it.
And I'm You do.
Dreamus, the music director for Our Savior Washington. However, in this case,
Yep.
I'm also the AI voice created by Pastor Chris.
Yeah, I have to admit that it does a really good job.
It does do a freakishly good job. I feel
Yeah.
like I do sound a little more aggressive than I usually do. But then again, I mean, I don't know. I think sometimes people, do you ever feel that way where I feel like I'm very like happy, like I try to talk with a smile on my face, and then I feel like some people are still freaked out by me. So maybe I do sound that way,
Yeah.
and I just don't feel like I sound that way.
Absolutely, I completely agree.
I really shouldn't have done it. It's just too much fun.
Yeah,
It's just too much.
I understand.
But yeah, you're actually, it's only taken us like 3 weeks to finally get together.
Oh yeah, it's been a
But
while.
I hate it when that happens. You know, it happens way too often, but it does, it's just, hey, life gets the better of you. And if you don't have something going, I have something going, and then so on. And so even tonight I was like, oh no, I'm going to have something else to do. And then it turned out it worked out. So that's been great.
Yeah,
And that is giving me the opportunity, the great and wonderful opportunity to bring up the big story of the day,
yes.
which is, of course, are you a Turning Point USA or are you Bad Bunny? Now, full disclosure right here.
Yeah,
I did not watch Bad Bunny. I didn't watch Bad Bunny. I probably, just knowing that I was going to bring it up, I probably should have, but that means I'm going to have to rely on your opinion completely.
yeah.
Now I did watch the Turning Points USA one. I wanted to see kind of how it was, and I'll be honest with you. The other thing about it is I kind of wanted to see Kid Rock.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see if a 55-year-old man was going to jump around like he was 20.
Yeah. Now,
And if you've never seen it, he does. The first song, he does jump around like he's 20 years old. So
yeah. I think I come at it from a couple different angles, because I kind of come at it from a very musical angle,
sure.
and then also like, our thoughts and beliefs. But what was your impression of the Turning Point show? Like, just, I mean, you didn't see Bad Bunny, but just in general, what'd you think of the Turning Point show?
Well, I've watched plenty of halftime shows over the years. I will say, the Turning Point show, in my opinion, was everything that I thought it would be.
Uh-huh.
And that is to say, it wasn't overly political, but it also didn't hide the politics.
Yes.
And so there was that part of it. I will say I knew the artist, most of them anyway, that were on the Turning Points USA. I was definitely more familiar with them. Being a 90s kid, like I grew up with Kid Rock. I know Lee Bryce really well in terms of his music. And so, and to be fair, I just did not know Bad Bunny songs, and that has nothing to do with him. It's just the sheer fact that I just don't know any Bad Bunny. And to be fair, like, what was it last year? Like Kendrick Lamar, like I didn't know any of his songs either.
Right.
So, but overall, I actually didn't mind it. I actually thought it was pretty good. It didn't have a lot of the pizzazz that the normal halftime show usually has. So if I was like trying to compare apples to apples, I'd say it had a lot less of the pyrotechnics, a lot less of just the bigness of it. If you know what I mean. Like the halftime shows that I've seen in the past have these massive sets, these massive movements. I mean, Dr. Dre was on a full-on building that they like erected like in the middle of the field. And it didn't have any of that. It was just like a flat stage. They had some pyrotechnics when Kid Rock first came out, but they really didn't have a ton. I really did appreciate the guitar rendition of the national anthem. I thought that was really well done.
Yes, it was.
and I thought that was pretty cool. Admittedly, the Christian part of me enjoyed the fact that there was like a gospel presentation in the middle. I know that some people that would be a huge turnoff. But again, it's just part of it's a part of that culture, and it's part of what they are trying to represent. And turning points, you can't deny it. I mean, again, you could have disagreed with Charlie Kirk and his politics, but you could not disagree. You couldn't say really that he was a non-Christian unless you were saying he was acting as a hypocrite. That is to say, taking him at his words. His words were very gospelly and very gospel-centered.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
So I honestly wouldn't say it was like the best, halftime show I'd ever seen or anything like that. I wasn't like wowed.
Right.
At the same time, I didn't think it was bad.
Right.
I didn't think it was like the most horrendous thing I'd ever seen in my life. Nothing like that. So yeah, that was kind of my general rendition. What about you? What are your thoughts?
Well, between the two, I think it's kind of interesting because I don't think I've ever seen a Super Bowl that with social media around that has ever been praised by everybody. Everybody has criticized pretty much every single performance ever, besides I think maybe like Bruno Mars. I think he's like the one person that everybody is like, he was amazing. Because he's just so incredibly talented. But it's funny to me because I think what I saw a lot of were people that every single year, all they do is say the halftime show is terrible every year. And then this year with politics all thrown into it, it was, oh my gosh, it was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. It was, and they're like overly like, oh, this was the greatest show ever. It was so amazing. It was just and that's, to me, it's just sad to me because I'm like, I know some of these people, these are people I'm friends with online that I know that all they do is complain about the halftime show every year because all they want is like classic rock. But since it's political, it changes their viewpoint and what they feel like they have to say or what they have to put up. That being said, the thing that I found, at least for me, and I will say this is appealing to me, I don't know if it's appealing to everybody, is that the one thing about Turning Point I enjoyed, it was Lee Brice, the first person on the Turning Point show. Was that?
I can't remember who was the first. It might have been him though. Might have been
whoever was the first one where they had the guitar player do the national anthem. The thing I enjoyed is I like seeing music, and I like seeing bands, and it was watching a rock concert. They showed the guitar players. The guitar players did solos. They were outstanding. There were shots of the drummer playing this big drum set. That's what I enjoy personally. Mm-hmm. And so to me, it's just like, that's music. Like to me, it doesn't mean that the halftime show for the Super Bowl has over the years definitely turned more and more into it's really a like theater production, and that's.
Yes, I think that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
without saying it early. I mean, I guess I didn't really have words, but I think that's probably true.
And there's some people who definitely like the theater production and they want the theater production, and that's kind of what we're at these days. Is that we really care about one specific artist, the singer, and we just kind of watch them, and we don't really pay attention to the people who are playing with them. I mean, I kind of jokingly, because I made a video about this that did really well for the music store I work for.
It was like the guitarist, was it last year or 2 years ago?
I think 2 years ago with Rihanna. The guitarist for Rihanna, his name is Nuno Betancourt. He was in a band called Extreme. And they had a big hit, More Than Words. Yeah, and it was a ballad. And so a lot of people don't realize he's like this insanely good guitar player. He's absolutely incredible. And, he's in the shot, but you don't really see much of him.
Well, and who would know him? You know what I mean? Like, Extreme was a big band, but I mean, I don't know any names of any of the members there.
Right. So, they don't, a lot of people, I mean, if you're a big classic rock person, you probably remember Extreme, but, I don't think anybody, like none of my wife's students know who Extreme is, not a single one. But you know, I just, even that show, it's really cool because he's an
In
amazing guitar
fairness,
player.
I'm not sure any of the class, your at the school would know who Matchbox 20 is.
That's true.
Um,
That's true. But
Rob Thomas show up and they go like, "Who's this joker?"
right. But it's that's the thing to me is like, I would have, if Rihanna would have had Nuno Betancourt go out and play this insane solo, that would have been so cool to me. But I don't know if the general
Sure.
public care. So I
Yeah.
think it's just the thing with Turning Point to me was a lot more geared towards people who want to see country rock bands, that like live music performance aspect.
I would
And
agree with that.
and there's, it's funny because like I said, with all the political stuff, there's so many people who are trying to like basically say, I mean, and some of these are like, I have family members who are saying this stuff that like, it's ridiculous that there's this alternate halftime show. It's just, and they're trying to point out like, it's not we're not being unified and we're breaking apart all of a sudden. But the thing to me, I mean, there's always been options for other things, you know.
Yeah.
I grew up in the 90s, and the 90s I feel like was very much like, oh, you like this artist? Well, here's a Christian artist who's a lot like that. You can listen to them instead, you know? And that was kind of how it was. And so to me, I'm just like, you know what? It's great. They're just two different things. I wish some people wouldn't be as focused on the politics of it, because they both brought really different things musically.
They really did. They really did. Now, I before we go to, I do want to hear your kind of thoughts on Bad Bunny. Now, I'll be the first to, now I didn't avoid Bad Bunny because of the politics.
Right.
I really didn't. If I'm really honest, I watched Bad Bunny whenever he was on SNL, and I think the thing that really kind of hit me a little wrong was whenever he sang in Spanish, and then he said some stuff at the end of the show, and he said, if you don't know what that means, you got so many months to figure it out. And he was talking about the Super Bowl halftime show. And I really just didn't like the image that kind of was presenting, if I can say. It almost came off as arrogant to me.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not him. Maybe he just came off wrong, and maybe it was just, again, my own lenses that I'm kind of looking through. But honestly, like, it's that's like with any music, right? You get these big stars, and a lot of them are leaning one way or the other. And it's like, for me, as long as they're not going to sit and brag about their politics, I can really care less. In fact, even with the Turning Point show, like, sometimes they did kind of say little political statements. That was probably for me the worst. Like, again, like you, I wanted to hear the music. I wanted to watch a 55-year-old man jump around.
Well, you know what I thought of, and I thought about this all day today. It goes back to that Martin Luther story about, the guy wanting to put crosses on the shoes.
Oh yeah.
That's what I kept thinking of, is like, just make a great halftime show. And it's, I mean, it's okay if there's a song lyric that has God in it, and that would be great. I just think make the best halftime show you can. Don't rely on like preach, like I hate saying preaching, because I don't want anybody to think like, I don't have a problem with the fact that they were, saying flat out that, you should give your life to Christ. It's just that there's times too where I felt like both sides had sort of their political trying to push something. And for a Turning Point, I thought you didn't need to really be that blatant. You could have just made an amazing show, and
that's like true.
And just, and you can have your Christian and have some Christian lyrics in there. And at the very end, you can say, like you could say it at the very end if you want. But I just thought you should just focus on making it such an incredible show that no one can deny how great it was.
That's a good point. That's a fair point. I like that.
Yeah. Cause I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, did they rely on the political side to sort of like gain, like, like, oh, look how great the show was because we said this thing in the middle of it. Like, that's the only thing I kind of, and I don't know, maybe I'm being too,
I mean, again,
I don't know. It's hard to, that's what makes me upset, is that there's so much politics between the two performances that it really muddies it up. It's like, it
Sure.
can't just be a great show. It has to have all these political things wrapped around it. And so you're asking about like my thoughts on the Bad Bunny thing. You know, it it wasn't exactly super clean. You know, there was there was dancers and it was kind of provocative and some of that stuff. Not
Sure.
insane. It's not like they were,
I guess you always
like,
kind of expect it a little bit, but
yeah. And also, I mean, I will say when it comes to like, I being a drummer, like we have to learn different styles of music, and I've learned a lot of Latin styles and stuff. It is just generally a more physical dance. So
sure.
I kind of have to give the benefit of that because it is just kind of part of that culture and that dancing that it is a little more provocative. And
Yeah.
so for people, but then again, it's just that there's people who they just don't like that, and it makes them uncomfortable. And you can sit there all day and say, well, it shouldn't make you uncomfortable. But if it does, it does, And
Yeah.
that's why
Sure.
when there's an alternative, you can't be mad at them and say, well, you shouldn't have watched the alternative. You should have just watched the halftime show that was aired. And it's like, well, if there's an option, that's what capitalism is,
Oh, yeah, exactly. That is
You-
now that's a true statement right there.
Yeah. And so I mean, the thing also is, the week before there was the Grammys and Bad Bunny was kind of he was, saying some stuff like screw ice and stuff.
Yeah.
And there is a thought in my head, which some people may not like, but my thought is with all this ramping up to the Super Bowl, I just wonder what would his show have been had there been no like press prior to it, because I feel like maybe it was a little like they lightened it up a little bit because they knew like, oh, he's kind of in hot water, saying a lot of
That's true.
stuff, and maybe not, but there's just a part of me that I kind of wonder if there was a lot of political, like, oh, we got to kind of make sure we don't do something too crazy,
Yeah,
and
it's true.
but at the Grammys he was saying whatever he wanted. So it's I mean, the show was fine. I don't understand a word of it, really, besides Lady Gaga sang for a little bit. I understood that because I was in English.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that kind of annoyed me, though, is that I've watched a lot of these different political people talk about it, and particular a couple of them have said stuff like, why do we have to have this halftime show that 100% of it's in Spanish? That's ridiculous. Well, not all 100% of it was in Spanish. So I get what they're trying to say, but also don't, be clear about the facts. Don't, skew it just because you want it to sound the way you want it. And honestly, I doubt they watched it. They probably just said it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing too, is, they, right after they reported like, it's the most watched halftime show of all time, and it's the greatest halftime show ever seen. And all the ratings have come in, and the ratings were not that great. They were actually pretty low for the halftime show. A lot of people turned it off. A lot of people watched the Turning Point one.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean that it was a bad show or that it didn't have value, but it's just it's just when the media says, oh, it had the biggest viewership ever. Well, that's not true though. It didn't.
No.
It was actually, yeah. So I don't like when and that's both sides, one side is saying that, they're kind of skewing what really happened, and the other side is like trying to act like everybody loved it. So yeah. And have you seen the video of the stadium during it?
No.
Well, because a lot of that performance, they had all these like big high, and I don't know if it was sugarcane or what type of plant it was.
Oh, this is about the shrubs.
Yeah, the shrubs,
They're
big,
like
tall.
people.
Yeah, but you couldn't really see over them, and they were filming the whole halftime show kind of through these plants. And so there's people who shared videos online who were at the Super Bowl, and it's like the show is like being filmed, and you can't see it. And it's in Spanish, so you can't understand it. And so and they just show this guy's just panning around the stadium. Nobody's reacting. And, so that's another thing, is when they're like, man, the stadium was going wild. There's people who literally streamed it or, recorded it and put it up, and they're not going wild. They don't know what's going on. They can't see anything. And so, and you know what? It's like, yes, there's millions upon millions of people who are watching it on TV. And if that's all they care about, that's all they care about, but it does kind of stink for the people who are there. They paid a lot of money to go.
Oh,
And
they
then
paid a lot of money.
the performance is just like, they don't even see anything. So
No, now I'm gonna have to go and watch, because again, to be completely honest, like, I didn't watch it, but it wasn't really for political reasons. I just
yeah,
want because again, I assume most artists lean one direction or the other, and again, to be fair, a lot of them do lean left.
yeah,
And to be honest, it doesn't bug me as long as the politics ultimately stays out of the music. And even at that, I knew that he said some stuff at the Grammys, but I was like, well, it's the Grammys. Don't they all say stuff? And
yeah,
they
they
do,
do.
and it's like I still watch their movies, like, and stuff, whatever, when they
Yeah.
get on the stage for the Oscars or what have you.
Well,
Um,
yeah. Well,
but,
and
to me, it's not like, so to give you another example, like, I used to like listening to Bruce Springsteen, but
uh-huh.
nowadays he is so politicized, and he does things and he's just so much. He's just so much. And I know that's part of like his personality. Like, that's part of what drove him. That's part of how he became a star, was just by, picking something and just going with it. But
Right.
at the same time, like, when he started getting into the politics, it's kind of like, okay, that's when I'm like, all right, I don't really do it. Sorry.
Right. Well, you didn't sign up for that,
Yeah.
and that's kind of, uh, I don't know. I don't think I've talked about this on the podcast, but there was a YouTuber who he shared a post that he's been doing YouTube for years, like over a decade, and he has 1.6 million subscribers,
Okay.
huge following. And he started changing what he was doing because he had just done everything. It's like,
Sure.
if he would just be redoing the same videos over and over. So he changed what he was doing, and his views, he has 1.6 million subscribers. He'll get 500 views on a video because no one signed up for this type of content. They
Yeah.
wanted the other stuff, and he realized, like, wow, that's it. Like, I got to start a new channel because my subscribers don't care,
Yeah.
and he made a big post about it, and it was really interesting. And so that's what I think a lot of these artists, they get big, or they get some fame, and then they start bringing politics into their, everything they do. And a lot of people start just kind of unsubscribing or ignoring it because,
Yeah.
well, we like your music and we like what you do there. I don't necessarily care if you like Ice or don't like Ice. That's not really important to me. I care about the music. And if anything, it only ever like kind of ruins people's opinion typically. Because
Yeah.
they're either already listening to it or they're going to stop listening to it because they're kind of tired of what you're doing.
Yeah. I don't
And
know. I
so,
don't know many stars in general that have been truly outspoken about their politics and ultimately survived. Like, like, you might talk about, oh, they used to be great at whatever, but now they're really not that good. And it's like,
right.
and honestly, like, you do see that a little bit on both sides. I even
Oh,
think
yeah.
about I even think about that in terms of, like, what is it? Is James Woods, like,
Oh, yeah.
and he's like the outspoken Republican, but
Yeah.
like, even that is kind of like, dude, you're paid to lie to me, like,
Yeah.
like just go make movies.
Right.
And to be honest, like, generally speaking, I agree with a lot of what he has to say politically, but at the same time, it's kind of like, look, dude, I got politics everywhere, in
Right.
everything. Like, I just want to watch a movie sometimes.
Yeah. Well, with kind of that being said, what'd you think of the national anthem? Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Oh, well, Charlie Puth, who is like he's had some really popular songs, kind of does pop,
Yeah.
stuff. He did the national anthem, and the like it's hard to say because the chord progressions he used
Hmm.
were out of this world, but they sounded amazing. It wasn't like he went too far with it. He just added these really beautiful complex chords that sounded so good. And then they even have Kitty G, played saxophone during it. And
Kenny G.
and you didn't even see him, like, he wasn't even on the screen during the national anthem, but you saw him as he was like coming out. But
Yeah.
he had a little saxophone thing kind of in the background, and it was incredible. It's like one of the best. For me, I think it's one of the best national anthems I've ever seen.
Sure.
And he just went out there and did it. And then they have the jets flying by, and there's a video someone took of him, like the cameras, they got the footage of him just like standing there after he finished, and he's getting emotional, and he's just watching the crowd. He's watching these jets, and he's just getting emotional. It's like, it's a really powerful moment, you
Dude,
know.
you're getting me fired up, man.
Yeah, you gotta watch it.
So then here's the deal. Like, Super Bowl Sunday comes around, and so honestly, we were gonna go somewhere and watch it. Well, we ended up at a place where you just couldn't hear.
Oh yeah.
So I watched part of the game in a way that I couldn't hear it. And then later what I did is I watched a highlight reel. So I could hear a little bit more. And then of course I couldn't hear the commercials either. So I ended up watching like a reel of all the best commercials so I could figure out what in the world everybody was talking about.
Oh yeah.
So the point is like, I very well may have seen him. I can't remember if we made it in time or not, but I don't remember the jets flying by, so I must have missed the national anthem. But so even if it would have been on the TV though, I wouldn't have heard it. I couldn't hear it. So
it was. I mean, there's a bunch of people have been posting like, who won the the battle between Turning Point or Bad Bunny, and they're like, Charlie Puth. Because he just knocked it out of the park. It was incredible. And and that's the thing, as musicians, it's like, just go and do a great job.
Exactly.
Just make good shoes. And like, that's, and if you believe something and people want to follow you and learn about you, and like, if you just make the most incredible halftime show of all time, people go, who's this Bad Bunny guy? And then you see all his political stuff. Okay. Then like, someone's more likely to listen to you if you're not forcing them to listen to you.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't know. I think both halftime shows were interesting.
Sure.
But
I
by no means were either perfect.
I have to go and watch the Bad Bunny one.
Again,
I watched the Turning Points one, but I'll go back. I need to go back and watch the Bad Bunny one.
It's very on par with just basically all the other shows that have been happening in the last like 6 years.
Sure.
It's not like it's not like anything really egregious happened in comparison. And then the last musical thing is they had Green Day play like before.
Yeah.
And that was actually, I thought that was kind of the most interesting, because Green Day is a very, a lot of their songs are very political, anyway. Yeah. And so they were playing a couple songs, but what I thought was funny is that I know, because I've seen a bunch of videos, that they've changed a lot of lyrics to the songs that they sang. They've changed some of their lyrics to really be like they play the song American Idiot, and they say they actually have changed some of their lyrics to like saying like screw you MAGA and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And it was funny because I was like, oh, are they going to do it? Nope, they didn't do it. And I'm like, well, that's what happens. It's just funny to me because I thought how outspoken someone is until a paycheck comes around.
That's fair.
When a paycheck comes around, it's like you can't say that. Then it's like, okay. And it's like, it's kind of like, I just thought that was kind of funny because to me, it's like, I almost would have respected him more for doing it, because obviously that's what they
big
think.
Stage. Yeah.
But they didn't, I mean, it still had underlies of, it's still a political like song in general, but it was just kind of funny to me because I'm like, I wonder if they're going to chicken out, if they're going to do it. And it's like, I'm pretty sure the money probably told them what they're going to do, I mean,
that's right.
So it's, that was kind of interesting to me, but
sure. Yeah.
Hey, those guitar players on the Turning Point, the first act, the two guitar players were incredible.
Yeah,
that's fun to watch. And I don't think people know how amazing it is. Well, people who've seen these groups do, but there is something incredible about watching somebody who can really, really play like a guitar, like soloing. There's something incredible about that. I've been lucky to see a few bands that had incredible guitar players live, and it's a whole different thing. It's really amazing. But anyway, that's about all. I don't know if there's anything else.
Well, again, this has been a really good conversation, and I'm sure other people have a lot of opinions on it. I feel like we've talked a lot on the show, and I like the perspective that we've kind of come down to, and the one that you kind of keep saying, like, just make really good shoes, and that was always kind of Luther's motif. Don't and again, when Luther said that, I'm trying to think like the backbone of the story, but like when Luther said that, he wasn't saying, oh, you don't need to evangelize or you don't need to tell people about the gospel, but
right,
what he was basically saying is you as a Christian are also representing Christ through your reputation and through what you do. And I think that is a lesson that a lot of us Christians just need to learn. If you're going out there and you're being a jerk, you're not representing the church very well.
Yeah.
And you see this sometimes. Like, and again, I know we've been talking about politics the whole time, like, oh, what political influence this and what, but a lot of what this really does boil down to, more than just the politics, is just the fact that, like, some of these people have been acting like jerks and on a very public screen and in a very public way. And yeah, I mean, so if somebody's been acting like a jerk and then all of a sudden they tell you the gospel message, you're probably not going to receive it real well.
No.
You're just not. And so I think that's a huge tie-in for, even for me, like, look, one of the reasons I avoided Bad Bunny, and again, it really didn't have to do with the fact that he leans left or whatever. It really had to do with what he said on SNL. It just really turned me off, and again, I didn't even care that he was going to speak in Spanish. Like, I was kind of interested to see exactly what he was going to do with it. But the fact that he was just so in your face about it, it just bugged me. And it's just one of those things where, you think about it, like, and then also look at it from the Christian perspective of saying, like, look, if you guys go out there and you guys venture out there and you decide to be a jerk to everybody around you and they find out you're a Christian, like, that's not good.
No,
that's not good. How you present yourself in the outside world is also important.
Oh, so. Very. Yeah. And it just, there's something to me about, I've thought about this a lot because essentially, like, being someone who works in social media, my job is to communicate as best I can with as many people as I can.
Yeah.
I don't want to, I mean, and sometimes you might make something that's kind of niche, but for the most part, I'm trying to just hit the biggest net of, the biggest group I can with everything I do. And what's interesting to me is how, when you do something like that, or you say something in Spanish and then you say, oh, if you can't speak Spanish, then, you have a couple months to figure out what that means. It's just a weird, it does kind of put off some people because it feels like, oh, I'm not a part of the club. Okay. You're kind of excluding me when you could say it in Spanish and then say it in English and just say, like, I'm so excited to play for all of you.
Yeah.
That would be a much more inviting, everybody gets to, like, everybody feels like they get to go watch it and be included. And I understand that's probably hindsight's 2020 and it's easy to say that now. And maybe he was just trying to be like cheeky about it and kind of joke.
It's very true. I might have just taken it the wrong way, which again, it happens.
But that's kind of your job as an artist or as anybody who works in that industry, is to try to be, I don't want to put off the people who live in Green Valley, Illinois. I don't want to do that. So I want to make sure they feel like they can watch it just as much as the people who live in Chicago, or whatever. It's just, it's interesting to me. And I think that when people especially get onto, especially a lot of people I see posting stuff, when they're so aggressive or they're trying to be like say something like that, like, oh, you're an idiot if you don't understand what this means, or you don't know. It's weird to me because I'm thinking, what is your goal? What are you trying to do right now? Is it to convince people to, like, want to learn that language? Is it to, get people to want to listen to your music? Like, what are you trying to do? Because it wasn't presented in a nice way. And it just, to me, it seems like you must not really care that much, especially when people are getting into politics. I'm like, well, you must not really believe what you're saying that much, because you're much more focused on being angry and calling people names than you are focused on trying to communicate with people what you see wrong,
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
And yeah, so I don't know. I mean, this has been, especially like the last couple of weeks, just with some of the political stuff that's been going on, like Bad Bunny with the Grammys, and then have you see the whole thing with Billie Eilish?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
She made the whole statement about no one's illegal on stolen land, and
Yeah.
then the tribe that her mansion is on, said, "Well, okay, we'll take your land
Yeah,
then."
right.
And she's like, just now she's throwing a fit. And and when you speak from that place of authority, like you're better than everybody, man, when you get called out on it, and now, I mean, I don't know. To me, I've always really respected her as an artist, but it's like I lost a lot of respect for her as a person, though, because it's
Sure.
like you got really high and mighty on yourself, and then now these people are like, all right, give us your land, and you're complaining.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, but that's my land. It's, well, you said it's nobody's land. So I don't know. It's just interesting where we're at in society right now. But
Yeah. It
yeah.
really is. It really, really is. All right. Well, we spent a lot of time on this, so should probably move on.
Yeah.
I don't really have intro music for the next part. I wanted to kind of update everybody a little bit on my previous little podcast that I did by myself with AI Casey. I kind of brought everybody up to date with where we are with the CID, and honestly, not a lot has changed from that. But just to kind of give everybody a heads up, so basically, what happened? I think I mentioned this last time too, but I'll kind of say it again. So we had a gentleman that basically took over. So the way our synod works is we have a synod president, and then we have vice president, and then each district has their own president, and that person is the district president. Um, most districts cover either the entire state, or they sometimes cover even multiple states. In fact, the Indiana district also covers like Indiana and Kentucky, for instance. That's a district. But the Missouri district is like the entirety of Missouri. Well, Illinois has a lot of Lutheran churches, and I mean a lot. So we actually have three districts in the state of Illinois. We have the Southern Illinois district, the Central Illinois district, and the Northern Illinois district. Um, Basically, all these things that are going on took place because it was the Central Illinois. That's where we're at. We're in that district. It's that president that acted inappropriate, and that basically got busted by the federal government, by the feds, and and all that kind of stuff. Now, last time that I was here, I kind of mentioned that depending on how things worked out, he will never be a pastor again, and all that kind of stuff. And I mentioned that. Well, it has been confirmed. He has officially resigned his position and ordination, and even President Harrison, that's the president of the entire synod. Even he has said flat out, like, he's never going to be a pastor again. And that's kind of, I know some people didn't realize how the synod works, but in general, there are some things that you do that are so grievous that you can just never be a pastor again.
Right.
If I get pulled over doing 60 or 65 and a 55, and I commit a crime, because that is a crime, it's against the law, and I get a ticket for it, I can still be a pastor. But then there are some things that just ruin your view in the public eye, and the public will never trust you again. And certain things just fall into that category, and this is one of those. And I think that makes sense to everybody, but that's just the reality. Now, what happened after that is the vice president took over as the president of the Central Illinois district. He then basically took a look at it. Now, again, you realize, if you're the district president, you got to move to wherever the headquarters are. So it's not just like, oh, you can do this on the side for a little bit. Like, no, this is your job. This is your full-time job now. So the vice president, which we elected at our last pastors conference, Central Illinois Pastors Conference, he got in there. He took over for the crisis, but kind of said, hey, where I'm at in my life. And the way it was worded was, I couldn't tell if he was talking about like he just started some new church programs and he didn't want to leave, or if he had maybe some personal stuff going on in his life and he didn't want to, just move right away. And so I don't know the details. I just know that he had stuff going on and he decided that this wasn't the time for him to be the district president. It then went to the second vice president, and that was a man by the name of Mark Eddy. And Mark Eddy accepted that role, and so he is now our acting district president. And so that's kind of how that all went down. Again, there's a letter, the most recent gate post, and the most recent CID news you can use that's coming out I'll be sending it out in my email on Saturday. It will have the letters from Pastor Eddy. And again, this is one of those things, like, too, this is I send out an email every Saturday. If you don't get it, by the way, and you would like to, let me know. I can update your email. I can put your email in it, whatever, however you want to do it. I can get you on the list. But just know, if you scroll down to the very, very bottom, it's always the last part of the thing. I always put stuff that's going on in our district. I put all the, and like St. John's Bath sometimes does, like, I think they're doing a Cajun meal here pretty soon. I put that announcement there on the bottom. So if you really want to know what's going on in your district, feel free to look at it. There's always links. I put hyperlinks on the bottom for the gate post and for the news you can use. When I get the most recent, like, archivist that they do, and also the Camp Silka lowdown, I put all those links on the bottom. So they're all there, and you can read them, and you can read any news that kind of comes out that I get. So anyway, but that's the kind of the most recent update, and I know that a lot of people are curious. So there you have it.
Yeah, that's. I'm glad you explained that, because like we at church, they made the announcement that the vice president was not going to take the position, and it kind of the way it was worded, it kind of, I felt like people were kind of looking around like, well, what'd that guy do? But you're explaining, like, he still is a pastor at a church,
yeah,
right? Like, he still has his own duties, and as hard as it is to find a pastor right now, I can completely understand why it may just not be the right time for him, because he may need to be where he is.
Yeah, and
so
the other part of it too is, like, he there's a reason he was vice president and not president. Maybe it's possible that he never went after the presidential office.
Yeah, true.
And they elected him as a vice president, and he's like, okay, I'll do that. I don't want to be president, but I'll do the vice president thing. And then all of a sudden this happens, and he's like, look, I never wanted to be the president. So,
right.
Believe it or not everybody wants to go up the political ladder.
What? Yeah,
I know, it's hard to believe. I would be one of those, by the way. I don't, like, even in a synodical sense, I just have no desire. I have none.
Pastor Chris starting his political career right now.
I know
regional.
I know that one day,
manager.
I know that one day I will end up being one of the circuit visitors, and even that is like, I'm like, I just don't want to do it. I just don't. But it's a necessary thing, and each guy takes their turn. So I'll probably end up being it at some point. But
yeah, but I think that's good, though. That I just feel like the best people I've ever worked with are people who maybe not necessarily wanted to do that, but they had the experience, and they don't have an ego about it. It's not like they were working their way up so they could get to this position, so they could, tell people what to do. It'll probably be good when you have to do it. You'll probably be great at it, even though you don't want to do it.
We'll see if they ever make me.
Yeah.
Oh man. But anyway, so that's kind of your district news. And I know there seems to be a lot going on. It was misprinted, a very grievous error in St. Louis, in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. The other week they said it wasn't. They didn't say Central Illinois District president. They said the synodical president, and that's a whole different person. So
Yeah.
uh,
Poor
President
guy.
Harrison was none too happy about that.
Yeah, I would assume not a great thing to be accused of.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, that's a pretty big whoops. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a pretty big whoopsie there.
Yeah.
So anyway, for those of you that are curious, our synodical president has not been accused of anything.
We would like to make that clear. So would he. Yeah.
Yeah, so would he. He's yeah. So all right. So that's all the news I got on that front.
One thing I wanted to kind of share, because I thought this kind of hit me the other week, because they made the announcement about the district president.
Yeah.
And, you could kind of, our congregation, it's not a good feeling, it's not great, of course.
Sure.
And what I thought was interesting is we got in to see, well, before we started worshiping, our pastor said, we're going to pray for him today.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you guys did, but I didn't think like, oh, I can't believe we're going to do that. But what I was thinking is, I wonder how many people, like a lot of people I know and friends online, how upset they would be by that statement.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry. They just don't understand why we would do that.
Yeah.
Because in their eyes, he did something wrong and he should just go down in flames, no compassion, no nothing. And we started singing the song, Good, Good Father. We did a song and then we ended our worship set with Good, Good Father. And the first line of it is, I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like. And that it kind of hit me right away, because, we've done that song for a long time.
Yeah.
I know St. John's done that song. And it just really hit me. I'm like, there are so many people who think they know what Christianity is, and they think they understand. And I know there's people who, had they heard that statement, they would have said, well, that's Christians for you. They're praying for this, quote unquote person, and how horrible they are, that they're just like, they're okay with it. And they're all this stuff. And then when we got to, praying, he said, we pray for his, I'm losing the word, repentance.
Yeah.
And I thought and I just know that so many people would hear that and not understand what we're saying,
Sure.
Because we're not saying he did a good thing. We're not glorifying it. We're not saying, well, he'll go do some training, he'll do some stuff, and then he'll be a pastor, he'll get back into it. That's not what we're doing at all. We are saying it's wrong, and we're praying for him that he turns away from those evil ways.
Yes.
And I don't know, it really hit me that Sunday, because sometimes the songs, just the lyrics are just exactly what you need that day without understanding that's what's going to happen. And it was just one of those days where, man, it was like, it just really hit me about, you're a good, good father. And it's not we don't determine their punishment. The law that does, but all we really do is just try to show everybody mercy and a little grace, and not glorify what they did if it was wrong, but we can still say, I hope that they repent and are better.
So I think one of the things that becomes a misunderstanding in these cases is, a couple different things. For one, very rarely do we, in general, as people, like as human beings, and this goes for even non-Christians alike, but very rarely do we really come face to face with the egregious, awful nature of sin. Many times we can cover it up, we can hide it, we can pretend it's not real. We can do all these things. And then every now and again, like, it hits us, like something happens, and all of a sudden we're coming face to face with, we've made some really bad choices and we've done some really bad things. But very rarely do you see something where something so egregious happens and you see the victims on the other side.
Mm-mm.
And you don't what happens is whenever you say something like what you said, like, right, we're gonna pray for him to repent, and then almost immediately everybody goes, "Well, what about the victims?" And it's like, "Well, okay, yeah, we wanna make sure we pray," you know in fact, that should be at the forefront, like, we need to pray
Right.
for the victims, we need to pray
Oh,
for healing,
and
and
we, by the way, I just want to say we did. I
yeah,
didn't
of
mention that,
course
but
you
we
did.
did. Yeah.
I know you did. I know we prayed, in terms of healing, especially for the victims, and we prayed for justice to be done. Um, but at the end of the day, we do pray that he repents, that he turns from his evil ways. Um, and we recognize that those are evil ways. And at the same time, like, also realize like we're still praying for justice to be done. We still want, he's gonna have to pay for this, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and the sentence that he is gonna pay is gonna be merciful, really. And I know, that might seem a little bit much, but the reality is like, the wages of sin is death. And, he's not gonna get the death penalty.
Yeah.
He's not gonna have like somebody come and torture him and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, that's the wages of sin. Um, and so I know a lot of people look at it, but they look at his victims and they're just like, well, he needs to really, really pay for this. And it's like, we're not saying that he doesn't, you know, um, you know, we don't want him to face, eternal damnation. I think anytime a soul repents, that is, they turn, right? Like you said, they turn from their evil ways, they turn from their sin, and that's what we want. And but by the way, I think some people also get this confused. We don't want him just to be sorry he got caught.
Right.
You know, we want him to honestly be sorry for what he did and to really truly turn from that. And and even then he'll still have to pay a price. He'll still have to suffer jail time and all that kind of stuff. And he'll still, have a tainted name for the rest of his life, and he'll still have, he'll never be a pastor again ever. Like I said, there's just
Right.
certain sins that are so egregious that he'll never be trusted in the public eye, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of ways that he will pay, and to be fair, you know, the reality is that even from that standpoint, he will not pay his full dues. There will be some mercy placed on him, but ultimately, what we do is we pray that we pray that he repents, because that's what we
Yeah.
need, and that's what we all need. We all need to repent of our sin. Now, maybe obviously our sin is not this, but it might be something else, you know. And I
Right.
understand that we don't look at it like it's the same sometimes, but at the same time, it's like we don't look at it like it's the same. Um, but I think sometimes what happens is we get so caught up in the moment, because again, we see the victims and we see the pain and we see the carnage that sin has wrought. And
Yes.
we just feel, and it really is a righteous anger, to be completely fair. It's a righteous anger because
Right.
we see an injustice and we want to see it fixed somehow.
Yeah.
Um, and so I get it, and I don't want to say, oh, that's an unjust anger. I mean, if we could be this wild with all sin, but we're not. We do it with certain ones.
Yeah.
You know, when a murder or homicide takes place, we kind of look at it the same way. We look at the victims of the people that have been, injured or murdered, and the people that were, loved that person and cared for that person, and we see all the pain and trauma that brings, and we just go, man, I wish some real justice could come about it. And it's like, well, you know, yes, we want justice, but we want this person to repent. We want this person to say, I really did awful things, and actually mean it and
Yes.
feel it and believe it. You know,
Well, I feel like that's especially with all the stuff we talked about before, with all the political stuff. I feel like there's just this weird thing that right now we view that things. It's weird because I feel like there was always sort of a line of like things are black and white, which I mean, there's certain elements that what he did was wrong. There's no argument of that. That's wrong.
absolutely.
But then people kind of view it as, well, if you pray that he, repents and all that stuff, and that he, turns to God and everything, then you must be supporting his actions. And that's
No.
not true. That's not true. And it's so that I don't know. It's very interesting that that seems to be such a common emotion right now in the world, that
Yeah.
we're being pushed to two different sides, and you have to take a side, and you have to feel no compassion for the other person.
Yeah.
It has to be hatred and anger. And like this whole situation, everything I'm hearing you say is like, we don't think it's okay. And in fact, we know he's going to have to pay for it. And we're not upset about that. He needs to pay for it.
Yeah.
But we hope that he does repent. Like, that's just, I don't know. I've been thinking about that a lot, because it just seems like with all this stuff that's been,
Yeah.
there's such a desire to just hate one side or hate this one person if they do something you don't like. And there's absolutely no middle ground. There's nothing to understand. There's no reason to ever understand what it's like in their shoes. It's just, you just hate this person because they're against you. So that's it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that
No,
makes total sense, but
No, I completely get what you're saying. And I mean, again, just to, I guess just to reiterate, like, again, obviously this is not okay. It's just not. It's just not okay in any
yeah,
capacity. And I love, this is one of those things. I love the way our Senate has actually handled it.
I do
And
too.
in that they didn't say, "Oh, this is okay." They didn't say, "We're going to fight this." And to be honest with you, they're more like, "Yeah, the feds came, they did this, and we're like, take whatever you need.
Yep.
What else do you need? How else can we help you?" And they've been pretty forthright about that. Like, when an accusation like this comes, again, they want the truth. They don't want like false evidence or anything, but at the same time, like, they want the truth. What was
Yeah.
in darkness needs to come and see the light of day. And, this is not like the scandals of old. And I know, like, some people will bring up some scandals with the Catholic Church from back in the day. It's like,
Right.
we're not trying to hide anything, and we're not trying to move him around or do something else.
Yeah. We're not
No.
just sending them to a different church or something.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
No. If he's guilty of this, he needs to pay the price,
And I think that's saying something, because we know there's such a shortage of pastors too. So
Mhm.
it's not like, well, we would, but gosh, it's really hard. We don't have enough. We're sticking to the process, even though even though that makes it harder for us,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and I have no doubt that we'll be talking about this again in the future, just because, again, it hits a little close to home.
Yeah.
I don't want to focus. I guess the temptation is to focus on it almost too much, and like, I don't want to be so caught up in it, especially whenever I got a saint to do today.
Yes. Let's go
So,
on to that.
all right, hopefully I hit the right button.
Welcome now to Saints in the Shadows. Hear the stories of the saints, learn about things you never knew. See if you can figure out who the saint is before the end.
All right, I hit the right button. Yay! All right, here we go. Today I want to tell you a secret that has been uncovered, a secret that really isn't a secret anymore, but a secret nonetheless. However, the secret doesn't start in a quiet place. It doesn't start in the soft light of a candle. No, the secret actually starts with war. In the 3rd century, Rome had a problem. Rome was the best military machine ever heard of. And Rome was running out of soldiers. Claudius II figured out the problem and promptly started the process to fix it. The problem? Young men were getting married. You see, once a young man got married, he had to look after his wife. And what if he had children? Now he needs to look after them as well. And it's hard to get good soldiers when they have to constantly look over their shoulder, and they have to constantly think about, whether or not they're going to be able to make it back home and see their kids and see their wife, and so on and so on. And so it is that Claudius II did what he felt he needed to do. He banned marriage throughout the empire. Without marriage, there would be no wife. Without the wife, there would be no children. So nothing to worry about, and you can go off and fight battles. And now enter the scene this priest, this bishop, this secret keeper. You see, to him, while marriage was something typically done by the state, or in this case, the empire, it was a religious order and it had the blessing of God, which means the empire had no right to ban it. And so it is that this secret keeper kept a secret. He officiated marriages, marriages that happened and took place in secret, for fear of the emperor. At night, in lamplight, he joined hands of young couples, whispered blessings, and invoked a god greater than Rome. He didn't shout. He didn't stir riots. He simply kept saying yes where the empire had said no. And as secrets often do, his secret spread. Young lovers found him. Soldiers, sweethearts found him. Even a few Roman officials found him. But word reached the ears of someone else too. Someone who believed loyalty to the emperor must come before anything. The secret keeper was arrested. Now, as the story goes, this secret keeper was not brought to a standard jailer or just some random nobody, but to Claudius II himself. And he was questioned by Claudius. He was questioned as to why he defied him. The secret keeper had defied him not with swords or clubs, not with violence, or really even in spoken words to crowds. He created no riots and never even truly spoke against him. No, he simply defied him by performing marriages. He defied him with his faith and belief. Claudius would let him go free. But in order to go free, he simply had to renounce his faith. That's the price. Go free and reject your God, or die. The secret keeper did no such thing. And so he was sentenced to death. He was handed over to a jailer. And while he waited his fate, curiosity sprang. Who was this man? Who was it that had defied the emperor himself? Curiosity got not just the best of the jailer, but of his daughter. Now, as legend has it that she came in one day, but not to see the secret keeper, for something had happened, and she was blind. She didn't see anything. She could see nothing, but perhaps to at least listen to the man. And as the secret keeper prayed with and for the young girl, her sight was restored. With her newly restored sight, the secret keeper gave her a card that would go down in history. You see, because he signed it with his name. He tore a piece of paper which gave it a weird yet unique shape and signed the card. He signed the card, "From your Valentine," for that was his name. On February 14th, the execution order was fulfilled. He was beaten, stoned, and finally beheaded. And yet, we celebrate the death of this priest every year. No one quite knows exactly where the traditions began. Some people say that some early priests were trying to get rid of a pagan festival called Lupercalia. However, most of those attempts fall short. Too many things simply don't quite match up. Even worse, some people have started importing later developing Valentine's Day traditions and saying that they were originally from Lupercalia and not the other way around. We get our first mention in Geoffrey Chaucer in the 1300s. It seems a very odd practice arose of drawing out a mate for a day tied to Valentine's Day. That is, the young men of the town would come into town and at random draw out the name of a young lady, and she would become his date for the festivities, usually singles. By the early 1600s, the practice had gotten downright out of hand, and the church began to rail against it. And they were widely successful. But the tie-in with Valentine's Day and romance and love were fully connected. And to this day, we still kind of celebrate the romance of Valentine's Day. I'll be honest, I didn't even look up a meal or a cocktail for this one because, let's face it, you all have your traditions, and I know you do. my guess is chocolate will be included somewhere along those lines. And maybe some hearts made out of chalk. I mean, Smarties or whatever. But get creative, make some of your own cocktails and drinks. Maybe a chocolate martini would be fantastic. Oh yeah, those are really good. So no real meal or anything that goes with this one. Just you guys know this day. So there you go.
I'll be honest, I really did not know. I mean, I've heard Saint Valentine before, but that's all I knew, the name.
Yeah.
I didn't understand all that. That's incredible.
So legend has it that when he tore off the piece of paper to make the card for the girl, that the odd shape that he made was the shape that we now recognize as a heart.
Oh, I see.
And see, that's the whole reason that it doesn't look like an actual human heart, is because it was actually taken off that shape. Now, all that is legend, and it's one of those things. Like a lot of this is just later forming stuff. We know he was a priest. We know that the Claudius II stuff. We know a lot of this stuff. But yeah. Some of that is a little suspect. Again, what I'll be honest, I ended up researching this a lot more than I had anticipated. The practice of drawing the young men drawing names was really interesting. And apparently by like some of the mid to late 1300s, some of it had gotten downright hedonistic, if you will.
Oh yeah.
Promiscuity was around. So
yeah. I'm sure.
Anyway, but yeah. So no, it's just really fascinating stuff, and this whole tie-in with Lupercalia, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but here you can go to websites and they'll say like the drawing of names, like, oh, this is from Lupercalia, and it's like, and then you read the records and it's like, no, it's not. Like, if that is, then because the first real mention we get of it is in Geoffrey Chaucer in the 1300s, and he ties it to Valentine's Day.
Right.
So literally these people are looking at what Chaucer is writing about, and they're saying, obviously Christians got that from this, and they're importing it back in time. So Lupercalia was like some Roman like fertility festival, but it was like, you should look up some pictures of this. It was creepy.
Yeah.
It was not romantic at all. But Lupercalia was celebrated on February 15th, not February 14th. But again, a lot of the tie-ins just don't quite work. Some people have theorized like the day was because like this is the time when like birds, begin the process of mating and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, yeah, that really didn't work either. So again, how and why exactly this got tied in the way it is a little unclear. We don't quite know. We know the original story, and we know how it was later used. The middle ground stuff, we don't have as much data as we would like.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think so. So, all right. Let me close it out.
And so it ends. The light shines in the shadow. And now you know more about the story of one of the saints of history.
All right. So I don't know if you have anything else, but I think that pulls us to our last section. Is that okay with you?
That's okay with me.
All right.
Church chatter.
Oh,
it's new.
Yeah, I cleaned it up a little bit.
Very nice.
Yeah, so church chatter time it is.
Oh, you gotta, yeah.
So St. John Sand Prairie, obviously we got Ash Wednesday coming up. That's going to start our Wednesday night meals. That's kind of the big thing going on right now. I'm trying to think if there's really anything else, because again, I mean, honestly, my life right now is just like Lent,
Yeah.
We are working on some really cool new stuff. I can't wait to tell everybody about with our church app and everything. So if you don't have it already, get the church app and download it and see if you can figure out how to sign in. Otherwise, I can always help you out. But we got some cool stuff coming down the pike, but it's not here right now, so I won't quite announce it to you. But yeah, some cool stuff coming. So that's what I have. Now, I hear you have some really big news.
It feels like this has been coming for years and years, which it has, but
It has been.
It has been, quite literally. We have a pastor who has accepted the call and is going to be coming in June. So we're very excited. Yes. We're very excited. It's going to be, I mean, it's so hard not having someone who can make a plan or just in general have an idea of where they want things to be moving. And, I whenever we had someone visit, I always tell them, like, we have such a church body of people who or a congregation that just wants to do something. They want to, do outstanding things. They want to move forward with stuff. And so it's just been so difficult that it just hasn't happened, and but now it has. So now, now the real work starts because
That's right.
We've been wanting this for so long. So now this is when it really begins. But yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, I feel bad because it happened about 3 weeks ago and then we haven't been able to do an episode. So I've been meaning to do it. But yeah, we're really excited. Hopefully, we're just hoping that the church will be a blessing to this family as much as, they're going to be a blessing to us. And hopefully, we'll be able to, they'll have a good time here. And so
can you share his name, or is it a big secret?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I'll get in trouble now. But his name is now here's the hardest part about it. His name is Chris Walters.
Oh my goodness.
So now I'm gonna have two Pastor Chris's.
Oh,
it's gonna be hard.
It's gonna be weird.
But so far we've referred to him as Pastor Walters. So so I think that'll be fine. But they're from kind of the area. I know I probably gave a little information the weeks ago, but they're from the area. He was born in raised in Metamora. He worked in this area, I think, for CAT for a really long time.
Yeah.
And being a pastor is kind of a second career for him. So I think it seems like it just is the right time for them, and it just worked out perfectly. That they were in Iowa, and I know that his wife is from there, but it seems like this is just the right time, family-wise, with everything going on. So it's exciting. It's really exciting to see. And yeah, we're just, I mean, I've done 2 VBSs there, and it's just hard because we haven't really had a pastor at the VBS.
Yeah.
Usually we'll have one of them will come by and do like a prayer at the beginning, but they're just not really involved in it. And so it's just exciting that, okay, now we're going to have a pastor there who can actually partake and be in the whole thing and the whole experience with us. So it's
very exciting. I'm very happy for you guys. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we all, I know everybody at the Sand Prairie's been really nice and, supportive and hope and praying for us and stuff. So we all really appreciate it because, it's been a long road. But
absolutely. Well, that's wonderful news. Absolutely wonderful. That's just fantastic. You got anything else going on over there?
I don't think so. I mean, we're just, I don't think so. We're just trucking along. So,
all right. Well, I don't have anything. You don't have anything.
No.
I guess it's time to say goodnight. Well, everybody, it's been a pleasure to be back on the recording and everything else. So, hope this finds everybody well. Take care, everybody. God's blessings. Bye.
Bye.